So with football in Sky Bet League One here, there and everywhere recently, I've decided to pick one game from Saturday and touch on all of the action from Monday and Tuesday night. Let's go. Before we get going, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We are getting closer to 7,000 by the day. Please make sure you do that. And of course, if you do find value from the content, you could leave a like as well. That would be much appreciated. Let's begin with the first game on Saturday afternoon at Leyton Orient as they hosted Derby County. It finishes Leyton Orient 0, Derby County 3, the XG 0.5 to 2.82. A strong and professional showing from Derby County helped them earn all 3 points on the road. Let's begin with Leyton Orient. To put it simply, it was one of those afternoons to totally forget. They never forced Derby out of second gear. Sloppiness defensively, constantly on the back foot and nothing going forward. Yes, a top opposition in really good form right now, but Orient's failure to even compete at points in this game is the biggest concern. As for Derby County, it's 5 league wins on the bounce, and with Portsmouth in League One so many times before, this is where things start to look extremely dangerous. It was a controlled, clinical Derby away performance that we're really seeing them hardly fear the opposition. A strong defensive structure with a slick feel to them in build-up. This Derby side are now showing us their quality, importantly, on a consistent basis. When looking at the graph in front of you now, it shows a fairly patchy first 20 minutes with both sides missing early opportunities, but the first Derby County goal sways this game in one direction. When Derby enjoyed attacking spells, significant chances were created between Sibley's opener and the final goal. Derby were ruthless in the final third. When looking at the stats, in the early stages of this season, Derby County struggled to deal with having more of the ball. Even with 55% possession on Saturday, Derby accumulated 13 total shots and 9 on target, managing one of their highest expected goals of the season. Derby's ability to take every big chance showed a real clinical edge to their game, a trait that in the early parts of the campaign has really let them down. They outscored their expected goals for the first time in a game during this campaign, converting every big chance they created over the 90 minutes. Let's take a look at the average positions because these are pretty wild. Quite unusual, I'll tell you exactly why. These are the average positions of Derby in this game. I wanted to highlight the average positions to show just how narrow they wanted to play. The formation does show a clear back four, but with complete fluidity further forward, and also I'd say an unpredictability in the front line too. Kane Wilson operated in the position of a number 10. Of course, he's normally a right wing back, playing extremely narrow, cutting inside, and of course, the width being created by the wing backs in this one. Sibley, Bird and Collins played as a number 10 also, with Mendes Lang, again, his pace being used in the option up front to get in behind. It confused me when looking at it, and clearly it confused Leyton Orient, but I've got to say it worked an absolute treat. When looking at the key players, Mendes Lang, his creative and goal-scoring output was impressive on Saturday. Of course, operating almost as a number 9 when you've just seen those average positions there. But his output, like I've just mentioned, was fantastic. 2 goal involvements, that's 1 goal and 1 assist, 4 chances created and 4 passes into the final third. He was superb, and so were Derby County. On Tuesday night, it finished Reading 1, Oxford United 1, the XG 0.98 to 0.55. In the first league derby for over 20 years, Oxford and Reading share the points after 2 quick strikes before half-time. When touching on Reading first, the game plan was set out extremely early. Soak up possession deep with good organisation before trying to use the pace on the counter. Did they have to defend brilliantly at all times? Not really. Oxford's lack of cutting edge allowed any structure, to be quite frank, to withstand that dominance effectively that we'll come on to in just a second, and how Oxford weren't effective with the ball. But their lack and Reading's lack of care with the ball can also be costly, because we saw with that first goal, it's a simple move that did provide great output. Sam Smith tucked it away, but turning over cheap possession can lead to danger. When touching on Oxford, although I'm not sure Oxford did enough to win this game, you walk away feeling this might be a missed opportunity come the business end of the campaign. Like too many times this season, there was a passive and quite slow approach to Oxford in build-up with a real lack of punch in the final third. It's all well and good having total control of a game, but it's the lack of purpose with the ball that will let us down and has let us down in these types of games already this season. When looking at the graph in front of you now, it does show the control Oxford had in possession, but with extremely small bars, chances were few and far between. Reading's ability to control any aspect of the game was non-existent, but taking their only big chance of the match got them a point. That's the bottom line. That's being totally frank. As the XG stats will also show, the Oxford attacking play was pathetic, lacking an edge in zone 14, that's the creative zone, and beyond. We're looking at the stats, 61% possession, 1 shot on target. That highlights every Oxford attacking problem in full. It was yet another game where Mark Harris failed to register a single shot. That's now the 5th time that's happened this season. Oxford's number 9, 5 times this season, hasn't shot in a game. It's woeful. I'm going to try and jazz it up. I just can't do it. In the past, I've tried to look at different ways of breaking that stat down, but it's blunt, it's honest, and it's the truth. It does not give us a good chance of scoring goals when you're number 9, your focal point, if you like, and somebody who does work hard off the ball isn't getting shots off. It's not really acceptable. Josh Murphy and Stanley Mills were bright when they were played in, but with a short and quite passive approach for large spells, they couldn't go 1v1 enough at all, and we saw some of the best chances of the game in that second half when Josh Murphy could drive at his defender. And even Bennett on the overlap sometimes when he came on for the second 45, we saw some really good 1v1 play with the wingers and fullbacks. But that wasn't done enough because for far too long we're working in a really quite small compact space, short, passive for so often in the centre of the pitch. It was a bit of a letdown, I thought. In comparison, Reading's best form of attack was pace and their dribbling ability on the turnover. Victor's and Aziz were bright sparks, helping their side attempt more dribbles and progressive runs than Oxford. They got 12 in total. When looking at the average positions, and in particular the average positions of Oxford United and ex-Des Buckingham side Mumbai City, I know Mumbai don't play like Reading, but we're looking at the change in setup. These are the average positions from yesterday and a game from Mumbai earlier this year. With Ruben Rodriguez out with an injury, Buckingham reverted to his more preferred 4-3-3 with a sitting number 6 and 2-8 in front of him. McEachran came in to play that number 6 much deeper, allowing Brannigan and McGuane to drive higher. In the eyes of Des, this switch gives us more control and protection with the ball, especially in midfield. However, last night it slowed the tempo of the game right down, and I think it did hinder us going forward, but it is more similar to how Mumbai City used to play with number 45 on the right hand side, that's Mumbai in the blue, and of course you can see the number 8 and number 24 playing as quite advanced number 8 attacking midfielders. Again, 8 and number 18, McGuane and Brannigan playing more advanced than the number 6, Josh McEachran. It's quite interesting how this does come after the Peterborough game at the weekend where we were absolutely woeful, but in his post-match interview he touched on trying to implement his style of play and more of his touch and his stamp on this side. Of course, he came in when we were flying, so not changing too much was sensible, but now the form has hit a bit of a low. It's time to start picking up and putting his stamp on this side, and maybe this tactical switch was him trying to do just that. The final points on the game from a Reading perspective: it was a game that required defensive organisation, game management and an ability to break up Oxford's rhythm, and all in all, that did work. On Monday night, it finished Portsmouth 2, Bolton 0, the XG 1.78 to 1.6. Maybe it can't be called a decider in December, but oh boy, wasn't that some Portsmouth statement under the lights. I'm going to tell you about some really interesting things here. Number 1, a partnership that could see a team win the league title. Secondly, a certain manager's big call success rate. And number 3, how somebody who thought they would bully got bullied. Let's break this one down. Let's touch on Pompey first. That performance is exactly why this Pompey team is so special. Go and check it out. A video that's doing quite well at the moment. I'm really pleased with it. I was really happy with the final production of it. If you did enjoy it and do find value from it, please do show support on that one. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. We broke down Pompey's season so far. Actually, before this game, we called some really, really interesting points. As the game progressed, I thought Pompey looked to have more control of the match, and by the second half, it was one-way traffic. Bolton could only chase this encounter. As mentioned heavily in the preview, when you're facing an opposition with very similar footballing intentions, it's the subtle details and fine margins that will make the difference, and that's exactly what we'll go into later on, because Messinio and Portsmouth got those fine margins and key details spot on. When looking at Bolton, there won't be many times this season where Bolton are chasing and outplayed in a match, but Monday was one of those nights. That Charles miss in the first half is game defining, and one of those where you look back and remember it all season. How much does the rhythm of this game change if that 0.9 expected goal chance is converted? It's a ridiculously high chance and big chance, both statistically and just on the eye. It's a horrific miss. Look, it wasn't Bolton's best showing whatsoever, but their key principles weren't being executed, and Ian Evatt said in his post-match interview he doesn't mind losing games if they lose in their way, and he said they didn't lose in their way, and some of their key principles that we've seen in this fantastic run coming into this, they weren't used, and so much of that was down to the quality and tactical detail of Portsmouth. They were phenomenal and didn't give Bolton a chance, especially after the break. When looking at the graph, it does show a fairly even first 45, with the opening 20 being that quite expected case of feeling out the opposition, both searching for that initial foothold in the game. But the end of the first and most of the second half swayed in the direction of the home side, keeping hold of the ball effectively and looking to play with purpose on every opportunity. A slightly more intense press that we'll come on to later, with one individual being fantastic at it and urgency to get in behind. It was Portsmouth's final third output that was the biggest difference maker in this game, forcing Bolton to rue those missed chances in the early stages. When looking at the stats, as mentioned just a moment ago, it's the final product that edges Pompey in this game. With slightly less of the ball over the 90 minutes, the home side accumulated more shots and 3 times the number of shots on goal. But it's a slightly more niche stat I want to highlight. John Mousinho's team took 7 corners in this game and of course converted one of them. But their threat from set pieces has been ever present during the campaign so far. In fact, they've dominated the charts for XG, shots and goals from set play, sitting top of all of those metrics. With 11 set piece goals so far this season, Shockness is headed home 3 goals from corners, and Jack Sparks has assisted every single one of them. 2 last-minute goals and 1 against Bolton Wanderers. You'd say the pair are picking the right time to deliver those moments. When looking at key players in the first half, the call to start Maghoma looked like a genius one, providing a physical presence in the middle and an ability to drive into the box from deeper areas. One brilliant dribble in that first half does stand out. He weaved in and out of about 4 or 5 Pompey defenders and just, I think, got a shot off, but it was blocked in the end. But it was a really good example of his ability driving from deep. His heat map does show him driving into the space on that right-hand side. Within the first 30 minutes, 61% of Bolton's attacking play was down that right side or the left side of Pompey, targeting Sparks, which was evident and something that we did mention in the preview. However, Mousinho's tactical decision to have Pack almost go man-to-man on him after the break stopped Maghoma's forward licence and allowed Sparks to go 1v1 with Cogley on more occasions. One of Mousinho's best traits is team selection. He got all of the big calls right on Monday night. Yengi over Sadie offered pace in behind and a constant press on Santos, who struggled with the ball at his feet. In fact, Yengi won 7 duels, the most out of any other player on the pitch, playing as an enthusiastic focal point throughout. When doing my final points and summing up this game for Pompey, nothing is won and nothing should be won yet, but that result and performance will stand out. In and out of possession, the detail was spot on, earning the right to control and add an attacking spark in the final third. We spoke about the risks and bravery to play before this match, and Bolton seemed to lack a lot of that on Monday night, a frustrating one for them at Fratton Park. It's time we go around the grounds, touching on the 3 days worth of action. Wycombe 0, Shrewsbury 1, Wigan 0, Lincoln 0, Reading 1, Barnsley 3, Peterborough 3, Oxford 0, Blackpool 3, Carlisle 0, Bristol Rovers 1, Cheltenham 1, Burton 1, Stevenage 2, Charlton 2, Cambridge 2, Exeter 0, Port Vale 1, Leyton Orient 0, Derby County 3, Northampton 3, Fleetwood 0. On Monday, of course, it was Pompey 2, Bolton 0. And yesterday, it was Reading 1, Oxford United 1. If you did enjoy this content, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe. On the road to 7,000 subscribers, that support would be much appreciated. Until next time, I've been Jack. This has been the Jack Ward Football Podcast, and I will see you all very, very soon. Take care.